It'll be long lasting and also so that we don't run afoul of DPIE inspectors because of unpermitted construction. My name is Avis Thomas Lesser. I'm the Public Information Officer for DPIE. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to start with a few housekeeping issues. First of all, you should have been muted when you came into the meeting. If not, everybody can take a moment and make sure that you're muted now. We just want to make sure that we don't have distractions from dogs barking or loud trucks coming up the street. Okay. We are also going to enable closed captioning for those of us who may need that. Tia. We are also recording the meeting so that there'll be a record of it later that you can access to in case you want to share it with your networks. We ask that anybody who has a question, wait until we get to the question and answer section of the program. We're going to start off with a brief presentation and then some information from some of our esteemed colleagues here at DPIE. You're welcome to put your question in the chat. Unless you have a question for a specific person, make sure that you enable it for everyone to see so that we'll make sure that we can see it. Our panel members will start answering those questions in the chat as we move through the program. Now, I get a lot of people saying, I don't want to read the answer on the chat. I want somebody to tell me the answer because I don't read fast. So we will try to get to as many of those, as possible, but just make sure that you keep up with the chat. Okay. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and start introducing people. First of all, we'll hear from Senior Advisor to the DCAO, Linda Turner.
Good morning. Thank you, Avis. And on behalf of our Acting Director, DCAO, Jared McCarthy, we're pleased all of you could join our DPIE team today. Third Thursdays are designed to provide you, our customers, with information to assist you with your permitting and enforcement needs. So today's session will be extremely informative if you have any projects scheduled in the near future. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Avis.
Thank you very much. Okay, do we have, okay, is Badat on? Okay. Then we'll hear from Assistant Associate Director George Holmes.
I'm here, Avis.
Oh, you are? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, how about Associate Director Badat Kashani?
Good morning. This is Badat Kashanian. Welcome to our forum today. I'm here to discuss basically everything has to do with home renovations from basically shingles replacement all the way down to finishing basement. We'll be here during this forum, but also available afterwards if you have any continued questions or you would like to follow up on anything. You could contact me or any of my staff by phone, email, or text, and we'd be more than happy to get back with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, I think I forgot our deputy directors. Apologies for that. Dawud, are you here?
Yes, Avis, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me fine? My name is Dawud Abraham. I'm one of the deputy directors in the DPIE department, and I want to welcome everybody for this important meeting. We find this kind of forum very, informative and helpful. So we are here to listen after our presentation. If you have any questions, so welcome to this meeting.
Thank you very much. And I don't see him on here. Deputy Director Lamont Hinton was in a meeting this morning, bright and early. I don't think he had a chance to join us yet, but if he gets a chance to poke his head in, I'm sure that he will. Okay, so now on behalf of our Permitting and Licensing Division, we have Ms. Karen, Assistant Associate Director Karen Spears. No, okay. How about Permit Center Manager Clarence Mosley?
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Avis, and good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to participate and to talk about things for your homes and how the permitting process works. It's really not a horrible process. People kind of get afraid when it comes down to permitting. I've been doing this about 30 years between DC, Virginia, and here in Maryland. And so a lot of our homeowners get a little nervous about the permitting process. But if you just work with us, we'll work with you, and we're going to make it a pleasant process for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of Associate Director Mary Giles from the Site Road Plan Review Division, we'll hear from Chief Engineer Ray de Guzman.
Good morning, everyone. My name again is Ray de Guzman. I'm Chief of the Site Road Plan Review Division, and my involvement, our involvement in the building permit process for interior renovation or addition or something in that effect. We are very concerned about drainage, and that is something that we focus our attention. We want to make sure that your addition will not be impacted by any kind of drainage issue when you construct it. So we will review that and provide you some leads or some suggestion to avoid those kind of conflicts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, on behalf of the Enforcement Division, we have Assistant Associate Director Crystal Tibbs.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for coming. My name is Crystal Tibbs. I'm the Assistant Associate Director for the Enforcement Division. Welcome. We're here. We cover primarily property standards inspections to include zoning, multifamily, vacant properties, and the like. So we're here if you have any questions. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much. And on behalf of our Building Plan Review Division, we have Chief Nabil Wasim.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nabil Wasim. I'm with the Building Plan Review Division. My unit oversees and reviews plans for code compliance for building structural, fire, life safety, mechanical, electrical, and health. We don't do plumbing and gas. That is something that's handled by WSSC. I wanted to point that out, but we're here to help and welcome.
Thank you so much. And we have Permit Center Supervisor Demetrius Jones.
Good morning, everyone. With the permit office here to answer any questions regarding submitting applications, either in the new momentum system or if you already have a project that was in the previous system, e-permits, to answer any questions regarding any existing projects that was still pending in that system as well.
Okay, and let's go ahead and have Assistant Associate Director George Holmes say a few words.
Good morning. Welcome to Third Thursdays. My name is George Holmes. I'm the Assistant Associate Director for Inspections, and we hope that you will ask questions today and we will be able to respond back, and we can keep moving forward with development and building in the county. Thank you.
Okay, Tia, if you could go ahead and cue up our presentation. We're going to do a very, very short presentation. It'll be posted on the DPIE website later today, so we won't belabor it here. We want to make sure that you have plenty of opportunity to speak to the experts here. So go ahead and start putting your questions in the chat if you want, and we'll just get started with some basic information here. Today, we're going to talk about home renovation projects, and we're going to give, as I just said, plenty of time for you to ask your questions and have our experts to answer them. After we do the presentation, each of them will just give a brief summary of how their division or their position assists with the home renovation projects that you submit for permits, et cetera. And then after that, we'll go straight into your questions. So next slide, Tia. This is just a greeting from our illustrious acting director. You'll be able to read that. Next slide. We want to just remind you that we gather here every third Thursday from 11 a.m. to noon to discuss different topics of interest with you. We hope that you share this information with your networks. We'd love to have 250 people on these calls. We established this at the bidding of our former director, who wanted there to be an opportunity for you to meet one-on-one with us. We know a lot of HOAs and civics and groups have meetings and they want us to come to those. We can't take everybody. So by joining these meetings, you get the opportunity to interact with, several people from our panel as opposed to one or two when we come to your meeting. So please spread the word about these meetings and let us know if there are any topics that you'd like us to discuss. We're happy to add those. This one today, as a matter of fact, was the result of a participant from our last meeting asking us if we could cover more about home renovation information. Next slide. Please make sure to follow us on social media. We are tweeting, we're on Facebook every day, and we're on Instagram. So we include information about what we're doing, but we also make sure that we include information about, how some of our, processes and policies. So it's really, really helpful information. Next slide. I wanted to share this with you really quickly. These are our front-facing divisions for DPIE: permitting and licensing, building plan review, enforcement, inspections, and site road plan review. The contact information for the associate directors for each of those is there, along with the divisional phone numbers. Also on the left, you'll see the number to the director's office and the names of all of our leadership, and you're welcome to reach out to them at any time you like. Now, at this point, we're going to go to see if you could go to the very last slide. We're going to let you see all this later on. We want to get the introductions in from our folks. Okay, the information here is contains our website and also my contact information. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Okay, now if we can go ahead and let our experts start. Nabil, if you could start just explaining a little bit about how DPRD is involved with the customers and home renovation projects.
Sure, not a problem. So again, as I said, my unit looks at any construction that is happening where a permit is required. And I always try to tell people that the way codes are written, they actually tell you what work is exempt from permit rather than when a permit is required. We have a document online, and I will drop that link in the chat box. And if you want, you can email me and we can get that document. It's on our website. It starts with when a permit is, what work is exempt from permit. And that is a starting point, right? Because I'm sure a lot of you have questions on, do I need a permit for this? Am I doing this? Do I need a permit for this? So we always started the other way and say, what does not need a permit? And if you don't fall inside that category, you need a permit. So that's step one. Number two is obviously when a permit is required, plans are also required. And we have a lot of guidelines on our website. There's documentation on our website that tells you what needs to be submitted for the specific permit types. So for decks, what do you need to submit? Structural plans for interior renovations, what do you need to submit? If you're doing additions to your house, what do you need to submit? And there are also other agencies involved. There would be maybe parking planning could be involved with that process. Site roads obviously is here. They would be involved with the addition or something larger in that extent. And basically, again, what we're doing is verifying compliance with the building code. The county currently has adopted the 2018 International Residential Code. So that's the code that you want to use whenever you're designing something for your house. And also we do have subtitles that have amended pieces of the code that are relevant. Subtitle 4 deals with the building amendments to the code. If you want, I can share my screen and kind of give them a little bit of overview of where things are on the website, because I know our website is not as user-friendly. Is that okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Let me try and let me know if you can or cannot see, okay? I'm gonna try. So first, let me get rid of this. Can you see my screen?
We can.
Yes?
Yes.
Perfect, okay. So again, if you have not been to our website, feel free to go to our website and explore. We have very good links here. If you want to know information about permitting, plan review. I'll point quickly to permitting, because if you go to permitting, and maybe Mr. Clarence will get more into it, we got icons, try to make it really easy for customers. Residential, you click on residential, it goes into details about what are you exactly trying to do in your house. So you can click on these icons and there'll be additional information that will be given. For example, if I go on deck, you'll see what is required for deck, plans, submissions, design criteria that you should be using for decks. So that's one. The other one, which deals mostly with my unit, is the building plan. So again, back to the main page, plan review. You can either click on plan review, which will take you to the different plan review options we have. We have building, site, roads, and third party. But for building plan review, if you click on that, it will go into the different disciplines that fall under this division. Building, electrical, fire, life safety, health, mechanical. There's a variance you need because you have maybe, let's say, existing conditions that, you you can meet the current code, you can submit a variance. That doesn't mean, automatically you'll get an approval. We reviewed those requests. But there's a wealth of information on this webpage. You can go down, explore. Our contact information for the people who are in this division is there. And then another important icon is the document. And if you click on the document, it will take you to a resource page. And here we have requirements. There's some forms that are also translated into Spanish. But most of these forms are dealing with your construction that you may want to do. For example, if you were doing a basement finishing, you can click on this and there'll be an example of what your plan would look like, what you should be submitting. There's also other examples for decks, details of decks, and some of these you can use. So feel free to explore the website. One thing I will address, I think I saw a question in the chat regarding fees. The fees are also posted on our website. You can actually, it's very easy. What I do all the time is I go to Google, I type in DPIE fee schedule, and it will give you the fee schedule. I will go ahead and post that link, obviously, in the chat. And then from there, you can see, depending on the scope of work that you're doing, those are the fees that would be assessed. So I'll stop there, and Avis, let me know, and I'll stop sharing. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop in the chat or call me out when you have that opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much. Now, if we could hear from Badad.
Good morning. Nabil, thanks for that information. That's actually very useful, and I highly recommend going through that. And also, Nabil, I believe you also had a list of what is not required a permit, and that's what I want to go back to, if possible, at this time, is essentially we have many home improvements that do not require a permit. Some of them may be a little, I had basically homeowner questioning it. Well, I want to replace my window. Do I need to get a permit? The answer is no. As long as you're replacing basically and not increasing the size of the window, and you're not impacting the header, you're not required to get a permit. You could replace all your windows. But again, I'm going to stop at this point. It's very important to hire a contractor who knows what they're doing, because if the channels are not properly installed, they around the window, and the water is sipping through that window and it's not properly sealed, then you will have a problem. So it's really important to hire a good contractor. We're constantly being asked, if I want to replace my shingles, do I need a permit? No, you do not need a permit to replace your shingles, but every roof shingle replacement requires very major components with regard to sealing that roof, with regard to basically the way the shingles are placed around the edges of the roof. And we do actually have, RBC has a good guideline on that. There are many, many good websites that will tell you how to construct, basically replace your shingles. But at the same time, I take it back to the fact that you need a good contractor, because if that contractor is not licensed and they're basically come in and replace your shingles and they're not weatherproofing your deck, you will have leakage problem. If it's not sealed, if it doesn't have proper requirements for weathering around the shingles, that will cause you a problem. The decks under 150 square foot does not need a permit, but again, as Mr. De Guzman mentioned, that shed cannot be on the basically a drainage field. If you have a drainage running through your backyard, you can block that drainage putting that shed on. There was a question with regard to the setback. There is a zoning requirements. Even though we're not asking you to pull a permit, but you need to know what the setbacks are. You need to know what the drainage field is. You need to know if there is basically a conveyor system running through your backyard, and you can't block that. If there is an existing storm drain, that easement through your backyard, could be a public or a private easement, you need to be aware of those. So there are many elements in here. So one thing I like to really put time on is good contractors. We see this a lot. Even a contractor requires to get a permit, they come to the permits office and the contractor encourages the homeowner to apply for a permit under your own name. That's always a red flag for me. Why would a contractor who is licensed want you to pull permit under your own name? The problem with that is if there is a problem, if you come out there and reject or do not approve the sequence of construction, you will be the person responsible for it. If the work is not completed and the contractor walks out and you have a problem with that, since you pulled the permit, it's completely a civil matter. But if you have a contractor who pulled the permit, if you come out there and issue a basically correction order, notice of violation, or anything to that matter, it will give you enough ammo to go to court and basically present it to the judge that the permit was pulled by this contractor and the work wasn't satisfactory. So these are elements that we really like to hear about, because the list that Nabil mentioned is very comprehensive. It's very good. It defines extremely well what doesn't require a permit. But what I'd like to put the emphasis on, even though if you're not required to obtain a permit, it's extremely important to bring somebody, a contractor, who has good credentials, is not an LLC, which was formed only 2 months ago because they dissolve themselves after they're done with you. It doesn't cost much to create an LLC once every 6 months and do half a dozen jobs or 12, or more, and then ended up just dissolving that LLC. So these are the items that I really want to hear your questions, and I'd like to spend more time on those because I think they probably play a big role. One other question came up, which is very important, and this is extremely important. Flippers do flip a home without a permit. Many reasons for that. I don't think the fees are really a major reason because our fees are not that much to begin with. The reason flippers do flip homes without getting a permit is because they do not want the county inspector to walk into that building. Because the county inspector will stop them for not obtaining WSSC permit, not obtaining required permit, not basically complying with the codes and regulations and compliance with IRC. We will stop them at that point. That's why they don't want to do it. We see it all the time, a brand new spanking home on Zillow. And when we look at in the system and we have nothing on it, finished basement, nothing, 3 bedrooms in a basement, 2 bedrooms in a basement, no emergency escape coming out of that basement whatsoever. It's basically a trap. You put your loved ones in there and God forbid something happens, they cannot get out of that basement. There are ways to do it. We have a system online that you could actually look and see what permits were pulled. It's a public information. You could put the address in and actually zero down what permits were pulled for that property. And if you do buying a house and you see that the property doesn't show renovation 2022 has been advertised on Zillow, contact us. We will go out there. Our fines are used to be different, but thanks to Director Bowling, that she changed the ordinance completely. Each discipline, that includes a structural, mechanical, electrical, fire, geotechnical, anything's related, all these items are bare minimum $1,000 fine. So an inspector could go in there and literally put a $5,000, $6,000 fine on that property. And if they continue work, that doubles and triples. We also have a new regulations. If it's a flipper and if the person is known as a flipper who doesn't obtain a permit, we treat those completely different. The fines are going to escalate from that point. I'd like to spend a little bit more time here, your questions on that, and I'll turn it back over to Avis, and I'm available all day. And again, my information is on chat. If you going out there and you're seeing illegal construction, you see a dumpster sitting out there cleaning up the house and gutting out the house, drop us a line. We'd be more than happy to go out there and collect some money for you guys and bring the building into compliance. I'm going to stop right there and turn it over to Avis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I thank you for that, Bajad. I put the link to the permits by address search in the chat so everybody can see that. Okay. Next, we'd like to hear from Ray.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name again is Ray Guzman with the Site Road Plan Review Division. Our involvement on house renovation and alterations, additions is very minimal. However, we're very important aspect of our review. first, if you're doing interior renovation, that is purely interior with no outside work, we do not review that. That is something that basically building review. However, if you're doing anything outside or putting in a shed, as Bedad mentioned, or putting in a bedroom addition, or in some effect, disturb the area outside of the main existing building, there is a review that will be required under the grading code. And we simplify our process in such that our review will only be limited to the drainage. And we're very particular about that. And if you got a chance to look at and visit the website called the PG Atlas, and you'll be able to locate your property, and you'll be able to open up the topographic information, and you will see the drainage lines that will be disclosed on that layer. And anything that you put within those drainage lines is subject to our review. The reason behind it is because most of the time, contractors are not regrading the site or regrading the area around the addition to divert the water away from the building. And that's why we concentrate our review. And it's gonna be very disruptive and basically put you at risk of having an addition that will be moldy because water keeps on penetrating those buildings. So just be aware. You could actually call us and contact one of our district engineers to to give you some guidelines on the things that you need to do. You really don't have to hire a civil engineer. A decent contractor should be able to provide those kind of grading around the building. But if you have any questions, you could feel free to contact us and we'll give you some guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now if we can hear from Clarence Mosley first, then Demetrius Jones about the permitting process, please.
Yeah, good morning again. And I'm actually going to turn this over to Demetrius because, matter of fact, because we're public facing every day, all day, and you won't be able to get to the other people until you get actually submit your application for the permit. And so Mr. Demetrius Jones and the team are always there. And so I'm going to let him explain to you how that process works.
Okay, good morning again. And I would also like to share my screen to kind of give a better explanation of how to get these applications in. Okay. Okay. So this time in the county website is the best resource that you will be using in basically to submit your applications. If you go to the county website and go to services and online permit services, we have these icons in place for you to assist you. Especially the new momentum system where all new applications for building permits will be submitted. So if you click on the momentum site, it's a few avenues that can get you started on your application. You can go the route of start your application or new building permit applications. We do have the process for homeowner projects to go through the virtual permit cafe, which I will start there. For homeowners that's doing small projects or their contractors who's applying for the permits on their behalf. So if you click on the virtual permit cafe, it gives you a list of what's eligible to go through that process. So if it doesn't, it's not eligible for this process, your application will be rejected and you have to go through the standard review. However, also, if you go to the bottom, there's a note that's please note property serviced by a private well and septic system cannot use this virtual permit process. So if your property is on well and septic, please do not go through this process because it will get rejected as well. So if you have a project that's eligible for this system, And if you click on the new virtual permit process for homeowners, after you submit your application, you will have to check into this system. So there's a link there to check into this system. If you select this review for VPC, you have to check into this system or your application will just sit there, because the only way we can process your application if you check in to the applicant self check-in for the virtual permit center process. Okay. Let's go back here. So if you are not going through the virtual permit process and you're just submitting a application for a standard review, you can click on building permit process. There's a list of all the building permits for commercial and residential or use and occupancy permits, signs, temporary permits as well. So this site is available for all customers to kind of look over it as a great resource. If you need to contact us, we have a tab up there to contact us. Right. And you can contact the permitting office. If you need assistance with your application, you can email this email address. If you need technical assistance, you can email the Momentum Support System. But you can see all the other options here for other applications, including site road, cell towers, peer review projects as well. So I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end regarding submitting applications. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Do we have any other experts who'd like to speak from our panel from DPIE who'd like to speak quickly before we get to questions? Demetrius, can you put that link up there? We have the PowerPoint presentation has links to these, but if anybody wants to take a look at it while we're on here in case I have any questions.
The link to the county website?
No, the link to your yes. Not the county website, but to the
Momentum.
Yes.
Okay, no problem.
Now, we'll go ahead. We had a couple of questions coming before we get started. Yes, prepare to raise your hands. We can take those, but I want to make sure that we get these in. Somebody asked, I've not been able to acquire definitive answers to permitting required for a driveway project proposed by a service provider. I live in Lakeview, in the Lakeview community of Bowie. The home was constructed in 2000 and has an asphalt driveway. The driveway is structurally sound, but not as pretty cosmetically. I had it assessed, which recommended a 2-inch resurfacing tapered along edges to meet existing height and adjoining surfaces. The company rep said a permit is not required. There is no grading being done. Can somebody respond to that?
Yeah, I will respond to that. So it's just really a driveway pad that they're trying to improve, and it's not within the right of way. I might clarify that. All right. So basically, that's true. If you're not taking out the asphalt to the bare ground, there is no grading permit required. If you're just milling the asphalt and putting in a new surface, that is not considered a surface, a limit of disturbance, and it's not subject to any grading permit.
Thank you. This one was actually responded to by one of our colleagues at Maryland National Capital Park and Planning. But the question was, I'd like to expand my kitchen by enclosing a very small covered porch on the side of the building. It is a side door that runs into the kitchen, and I'd like to convert it to a kitchen space. Since no one uses that door, do I need any kind of zoning relief? And our colleague, Brooke Larman from Park and Planning said, if the side yard setback cannot be met, then you may need to apply for a variance with the Prince George's County Board of Appeals. So I'll put this information on the website later on with the link to how you can get information about a variance in case anybody had that question. Okay, now I see that people have been responding in the chat. Is there anybody who has a question they'd like to ask? We ask that you ask it concisely, please, so we can get to as many as possible. Any renovation related questions? I don't see any hands raised. No question. Okay. There are two here in the chat that haven't been answered.
Question.
Okay, yeah.
If I have a home project, how would I go about getting an approval for my home?
What kind of project, sir?
Well, it'll be, they have the stairs going to the basement from the kitchen. And I would like to relocate the stairs from the clothes closet in the living room, the jacket closet in the living room, switch it around. It's one of these old houses. So,
Okay. Can somebody take that?
or is it, do I even need an approval for that if it can be done?
And so I'll take that, Avis. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So if you're relocating a staircase, if I heard that correctly, you will need a permit. You will need to submit drawings for review, and then it will be followed by construction inspections.
Okay, who's qualified to submit drawings to you?
So that's a good question. Normally residential projects don't require an architectural or structural. However, with that said, the person should be competent enough, because there are, the residential code is very prescriptive. If you follow the code exactly the way it's written for your loads, for your analysis, you can submit those. However, there can be times where if the plan examiners doesn't see the details that are needed, then they may request a professional engineer or architect to assist you, or have you get an architect or engineer to submit that level of detail that's required. So if you can follow the code and you can submit your plans, that would be the first step. If all your structural details, because again, if you're relocating a staircase, we're gonna have to get a sense of how much loading, where are you moving it to, what are you cutting, framing, floor, where are you doing it, what are you doing exactly? So those are the type of things you would have to address on the plans.
Okay, and where will we find the code for that?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so it's the 2018 International Residential Code, and I will also go ahead and drop the link. I believe I did, but I'll drop it again. I'll title it Residential Code, and also the subtitles for any amendments. I will do that in the chat.
Okay, and last question, is there any way to short circuit the process by having an inspector come in and take a look at it and tell you whether it can be done or not? Because sometimes finding somebody to write up all that the drawings according to code, it could be a challenge. Except maybe you have a list of people who you recommend, contractors that you recommend who can do that and submit it to follow the code.
So we don't have a list of contractors, and we don't provide that type of service. We don't provide consultation. That is something that the county does not do, or the department does not do. That's something, obviously, as if you're a homeowner, you can reach out to a contractor and an architect. They will be the ones that will help you determine what can and cannot be done. And then you would need a permit from that point on. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, you're completely correct, Nabil. And we don't, it's a liability for the county to come out there and give you a recommendation or anything in that regard. So the inspectors go out there and basically inspect per approved plans. Now, I gotta let you know that Nabil is absolutely correct with regard to getting a contractor in there who knows what they're doing. Based on what I heard, to change the staircase to go from one side to the other side, it could impact your basically your front. Usually your front and the back are your bearing walls, and everything in the middle, if you basically the bearing wall that holds your first floor or second floor, that definitely need to be braced up or be part of your design. And that's why the plan review is required, because we have had cases that the stair has been shifted and the bearing wall component was not taken into consideration. Rafters are being cut, and then the floors are starting to sag and it becomes a major issue to correct. So definitely you want to get somebody in there who's qualified to tell you where your bearing walls are, what you could cut and what you cannot, and how to brace up that wall or joists if it has to be.
Okay, and set the last question, I promise.
Okay.
What are the penalties for if you just went ahead and did it? What was the goal of the of having the program to get the permits? And you know what happens if you full-heartedly go ahead and do it without getting an approval? Just asking, not that anybody's doing it, but
Penalty.
Basically, the penalties are, as I mentioned, we have a robust fine process that, as mentioned, it could go up to $5,000-$6,000 per each visit. And if you go back and see that the permit has not been pulled or the work is continued, we could double and triple that. I could tell you in one single family home, we went up to $80,000 on fines and fees. And we basically put a lien on a property. That would be the next step. If the fines and fees are not paid and the permit is not pulled, we will put a lien on a property. The lien will stop the individual from transferring that title. And the transfer of title is required by the basically lender who is going to give you money to buy the house or the purchaser. And that purchaser cannot clear that title. That means basically the transfer of a title will be on hold, and that will create problem. But on top of all of those, and this is what I've been telling individuals, people go finish basements, and finish basements right and left, and they don't get a permit. One of the components that you got to keep in mind, most of our fire-related issues are related to electrical. And electrical in a basement, when there is a shortening behind the wall, and there is a fire behind the wall, people in the basement, first of all, they don't see that because it will travel behind the wall and it goes to the first floor. If you don't have proper fire stop between your basement and the first floor, what will happen is that fire will travel to the first floor and it will trap the people in the basement for good. If there are no emergency escape out of that basement for people to crawl out in case of emergency, that is a trap to begin with. So there is more component into, oh, I didn't get a permit. You know, I just didn't pull a permit. You know, it's not that. It's the impact that it could have on the next person buying the house or the people you love that live in that basement, or they're impacted with that decision. So you got to keep all of those in mind and then make your decision. We don't go out there and knock at the homes in the county right and left. We don't do that. If we don't get a notice from a property owner next door or a notice by somebody who goes into 311 and send us a note about illegal construction, we have no way of knowing it. But if you do know it, then it will be fines, civil actions, court orders, I codes, freezing your tax account, freezing your property transfer. So a whole bunch of things could happen after that. Thank you.
okay, well,
Can I
very
follow up
enlightening.
on?
Excuse me, we've got some people who have their hands raised. Mr. Michael, we'll try to get back with you. Let's.
No, that's all very enlightening. Thank you very much. It was
Sure. Thank
it
you.
explained everything to me.
Okay.
Can I
Ms.
follow
Curry?
up on that?
Actually, Ms. Curry has had her hand raised. If you could raise your hand
Oh,
electronically.
how do I raise a hand?
Okay, Ms. If you have a question, just raise your hand electronically down where it says reaction. Raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Ms. Curry?
Hi there, thank you all, very useful information. Hypothetically, if I bought my house and didn't know to check your website before about unpermitted things and realized that like this deck that has probably been here for years and years and the patio don't seem to be on the list, it wouldn't be me submitting a site plan, correct? I would be paying the fee and having somebody come and inspect to ensure that it is done correctly, correct? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, you are correct. You got to keep in mind that we're not here to penalize you as a homeowner. our objective of the process we have is to stop the flippers. Now, flippers could get a permit, get inspections. We have no problem with that. Our
Yeah.
objective is to stop the flippers that do not obtain a permit. They do not get inspections, flipping home right and left, and creating all kinds of a structural, electrical, mechanical problem later on, or
Yeah,
and so forth. But as far as you're concerned, yes, you will submit plans, you will come to the county, get the plans based on what's been as-built it, and then you get a permit. If it's
So I do
concealed-
need to submit a plan,
yes,
even though it's already built?
yes,
Oh,
yes, because you still need to go through the park and planning and DPIE approval.
okay. So like an
Now-
architect would help me do that? Like I don't,
Yes.
I'm not making
No,
a change.
an architect will be more than happy to help you do it. There are definitely many contractors out there. They could draw up the plans for you. It is not a complicated thing. It's actually very simple. So it could be done easily and it will be electronic. It will come through our system, we'll review it and send it back out.
Okay, yeah, just wanting to do this before a potential buyer, hopefully in 2027, when I leave this area. Will, if they were to look at it, everything would be permitted before I go to sell, and to make sure that it is in fact up to code and safe for myself and others. Okay, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I like to point out something before I let you go.
Uh-huh.
PG Atlas is one of our websites, which is basically monitored by Park and Planning. If you go to PG Atlas, we have photos goes back to 1938. So if by any chance you're buying a property and you see some addition to the house that doesn't make sense, it seems to be a newer one. If you go to PG Atlas and look at it, you will see that addition put in. All you need to go EP permits and pull up the permits that have been pulled for it. If the addition was in 2018 and you don't see a permit on our public portal, then you will see that work is done without a permit.
Got it. Okay, I
you.
appreciate that extra information. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Yvonne Hood? Yvonne Hood, did you have a question? Okay, so.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. If the young lady that was before me kind of sort of helped with my question. My question is that I live in a municipality new to Maryland and wanting to replace the deck. I don't believe the deck is really all that when I purchased the house, but I like to replace it from a wooden deck to a resin deck. So my question is, do I need to pull a permit to change from wooden to resin, just replacing the existing deck? But I am in a municipality, so I'm also needing to know, do I have to go through the municipality or do I just go through the state of Maryland?
Mr. Mosley?
Yes, and you will need to get a permit and you will get that permit through us. And then you take your county permit to your local municipality to pull your local permit, because sometimes some municipalities have their own permitting section office as well. But you will come to us because you're going to replace an existing deck out there. So yeah, so you'll get somebody who can design it for you the way you want it to look, and submit those plans and site plans to our office through our portal. And once we get your application in, we start that review. If we have no issues, we'll be able to get you in and out without any problem. And then once the permit's issued, then you can take that to your local municipality to get your local permit and get your inspections through them as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. Alexis Johnson, I don't want to butcher your name. I apologize if I.
No, you did a great job. So thank you. And I want to follow up on Ms. Curry's and Ms. Hood's comments. I need to check my house. I did look up the permit information and there's nothing there since the house was built. However, we do have a finished basement. And so I'm thinking something was done that we didn't, have the proper permits for. And so how do I get that checked out for safety? I do know codes have changed because there was you had to have a certain amount of ability to get out fires, like I think in the nineties it was changed, or the early 2000s. And this house is not compliant with that. And so I just need to know what I need to do to update. But since we're not the ones who did the refurb in the basement, are we going to get fined when we're
I'll
checking
take
this
that.
out?
I'll take that. Again, we're not here to basically pose fines on homeowners that they're willing to bring their property to compliance. So I'm not the type of person who will come out there and give you a $5,000, $10,000 fine because somebody else did the work. No, that's not what we do. We will come out there and give you a correction order to bring in an architect or basically a contractor who knows what they're doing to come out there and take a look at the work that's been done and draw up the plans for you and bring it in. As I said, there are some components into that basement finishing, and I mentioned the fire stuff is one big component. Most of the people that do basement finishes, they don't take that into consideration. That's a gap between your framing and the existing wall. That gap needs to be closed at the level that it goes to the second floor or the first floor. That has to be sealed off so the water doesn't travel behind the wall. That is going to be the most expensive part. If it's not in, and usually they just poke a couple of holes and look at it. If it's there, they just basically certify that it's there. They have looked at 5-7 holes and they're there. Electrical component could easily be tested because there are enough testing equipment to make sure that the wiring is connected and it's basically grounded, and they could tell you what voltage it is. If there was a heavy up, they could remove the panel and take a look at that. If there was a basement that they added new ductwork, they could look at that. So the contractor could do all of those. And if you have a basement in there and that basement has a bedroom, that bedroom truly has to have a emergency escape window, because that is back in the days when we did lots of violations in College Park area, that's one of the areas we run into constantly. And it was heartbreaking when you go in there and a student comes in and rents the basement, 1 or 2 rooms in somebody's basement, and God forbid and something happens and they're trapped in there due to a smoke or fire, and they pass as a result of that. So we came up with the escape window many, many years ago to prevent that. And that's another area we'll look at. But yes, you hire somebody, you will have them to come out there and assess it for you. I'm not here to find individuals that they're trying to basically bring their buildings into compliance. No, we will work with you. And you contact me if you have any question. My information is on the chat. Thank you.
All right, and if I don't have the budget to redo and bring into compliance, can I just not have people be in the basement for that? Or I mean, for those of us who this is a surprise and don't have the budget for it, are we completely on the wrong side of the law, or what's going on with that?
Well, that's a decision you need to make. I'm going to be honest with you. But we do have scenarios that has happened is you have an insurance for your property. It has happened in the past that the insurance companies, when the house is a complete loss or the cost of the replacement is over $200,000 to $250,000, they will ask us through a FOIA request to provide them with the basically the any kind of report, any kind of inspections or any kind of permit that was pulled for that basement finishing or that addition to the back, if that basically caused the fire or anything like that. We have seen that. So to what degree the insurance company will level that with the homeowner, I don't know, because all we do is provide that information to the insurance company. So you just need to weigh all of those. And again, that's a decision you need to make of how you want to proceed with it. And again, we're here to help as much as we could.
Thank you. Ms. Oliver? Deborah Oliver?
Yes, hi. I think you, the previous callers, Ms. Johnson and the other caller touched on what I was about to ask.
Great.
And I guess for a homeowner who say, got a house and 10 years ago, went and constructed a fence for the dog, not to get out. And now wants to, and did not get a permit, and now wants to upgrade the fence to resin, or even the deck is the other part. But the fence that the homeowner constructed, will the homeowner expect a fine at some point because of the previous constructed fence? And then the second question is, the deck that wasn't constructed by the homeowner, but by the previous owner, doesn't look like it's up to code, and that's why the homeowner doesn't really use it. But now the homeowner has a budget to perhaps have a new deck. Will the homeowner be fined for the previous non-compliance for the deck?
Okay, now let's answer, if we could answer Ms. Oliver relatively quickly so we can get to the last two questions. Thank you.
I make it real quick. Any kind of violation on the property stays with the property. So if I buy the property tomorrow, that violation stays with me. That's one thing to keep in mind. The real estate ordinance of the state of Maryland says, if I know that the violation existed and I sell the house to you, I'm liable for that. The civil courts also gives you the ability, if something was done by the previous owner and you bought the house, and that addition based on the PG Atlas I mentioned was put in by the previous owner, the civil curses in the state of Maryland, in the county, will allow you to take the previous owner to court and be able to get a compensation for that. The last question you mentioned, if the deck was put in and is not safe, we do have lots of these deck failures that I would be very worried about. But again, I'm not here to fine you because somebody else built that deck. As long as you're willing to replace it and do something with it, we'll work with you. That's not an issue for us.
Thank you. Ramona Mann.
Good morning. Well, I guess good afternoon. Two questions. First, I submitted a number of questions by email and I haven't seen any of them answered here today. Will they be answered by email or in some other way?
When did you submit them, Ms. Mann?
2 days ago.
Okay, yes, we probably have the answers done now. And we read some of those that we wanted to get to with the questions. So I put in the chat a few minutes ago, questions posted in the chat or those mailed to us will be, we'll have the printed out version of those posted on the website by Tuesday, close of business. Monday's a holiday, so we need an extra day. So if you go to the DPIE website, there'll be a link that says Q&A for, home renovation project, third Thursday. And you can click on that and it'll give you the answers to all the questions.
All right, and hearing about PG Atlas today, I went and looked at my property. The picture is the picture of my neighbor's property across the street. Is that going to be an issue?
Who would they reach out to about that?
Could you clarify that for a second? You said that
It's the wrong photograph. She looked for her property and it's the photograph of her neighbor across the street.
I would definitely contact Park and Planning to correct that. But those are aerial, so it's kind of surprising because nobody really does anything with them. They're digital, taken by air, by aerial, satellite or planes, and they're migrated into PG Atlas. So they should really be correct. But if they're not, please contact Park and Planning and have them take a look at it.
All right, thank you.
Let me chime into that. Normally,
Sure.
when you type in your address, sometimes it goes across the street, and there is a feature that you could turn around that image backwards, and you could, with the arrow, you could actually turn it around and you could see your house.
I did use that feature to see my house, but I thought the point of this was to be able to see the different changes over the years. Did I misunderstand?
Normally, what you need to do is go to aerial view. And
Okay.
normally you have a year that you could select. It will not give you the image of the picture of the house at that moment. Only the aerial view will be seen.
Here's a tutorial on PG Atlas. It's very helpful. as far as like helping you understand how to use it.
All right, thank you.
And Mr. De Guzman is absolutely correct. There is a drop down that you go in there for different layers, and it will take you back year by year. Sometimes we skip a year, but it surprisingly take you back to 1938. And the image on 38 are not that great, but at least gives you some concept of what it looked like before. But yes, there's a layer that you should be able to use.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Last question, Pamela Pease.
Thank you so much. This is a great session. I appreciate you having it. So back to the penalties for correcting prior owners' missteps or misdeeds. Is there a process that the county has alongside Maryland Capital Park and Planning as well for new homeowners that's mitigating it? So for example, in the real estate process, if you have an agent, is there some sort of rules within those agents to say you should look to see if there's a permit that's been pulled or any sort of process within that inspection, pre-inspection approvals that happens that can help us with knowing ahead of time that these issues exist so that we don't get into a situation where we're being penalized?
You know, actually, I'm very glad with this question. And I usually use these forms as much as possible to educate our side and your side as well. But at the same time, I always take advantage of these forms. No, the real estate ordinance of Prince George's County said that if you are aware of an illegal construction, that you need to notify the future buyer. But again, that's a great question. And this is the one I'm going to ask everybody, reach out to your council members. We don't have any ordinance to help you with this. The laws and ordinances needs to change. I agree with you 100%. The real estate agent who makes 6%, 5%, 3%, 2%, it really truly should be their responsibility to dig into this. They should be able to do PG Atlas. They should be able to look at e-permits. They should be able to look at momentum. They should be able to contact us. And believe it or not, some of the real estate agents actually do that. We do get lots of calls from agents that they wanted to know that they have a potential buyer and they're concerned about X, Y, and Z, and we actually give them the information. So I would say lobby with your council members. The ordinance needs to be changed, modified in order to protect you. At this time, the only protection you have if somebody calls us in and we go out there and assess that illegal construction. But you have no other ways and means other than that to protect you because the laws are not tight enough. So I would encourage you to reach out to your council members and make some changes.
Thank you. And I will. Happy to be the advocate as one who've been subject to having to shell out the funds to fix these things. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your help, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. I think this is a wonderful session. Excuse me. We appreciate your questions. Please join us on July 20th, Thursday, July 20th. Same bat time, same bat channel right here. We will post the subject on a flyer on the DPIE website within the next couple of weeks. And I gave you my contact information. The PowerPoint presentation will have the contact information for all the associate directors that you met here today. So feel free to reach out to them directly if you have a question, or if there's anybody that you want to be in touch with, you can reach out to me and I can put you in touch. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful afternoon.